Scientists say that we touch our phones an average of 144 times per day. I decided to go cold turkey for 24 hours, no phone, locked, turned off in a drawer, just to see what would happen. And the results are not what you would expect. So I'll start this story off and how I sort of came to deciding to do this by just recounting my weekend. I spent Saturday at a bit of a convention with some friends, and one of the talks that we had was on rest. And I thought this is very apt, considering I've been making a lot of videos on rest recently. And the speaker recommended a book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Not of curry, like my mum thought when I first said this to her, but of hurry. And in this book, the author is sort of talking about his life story and where he got to with work, with being burnt out, and just kind of societal pressure in general. And he talks a lot about the concept of a Sabbath or a rest day, where you just refrain from doing any work. And also, as part of this, he gets into talking about phone addiction and sort of social media, and those things that we all struggle with, we all slip into. I know I certainly do, and I'm sure you have your own struggles with that too. Now, it became apparent to me that a lot of what he was saying rang pretty true. And then in the next paragraph, he talked about a digital Sabbath, a day off from your phone for perhaps once a week, perhaps once a month, or it didn't really matter on the frequency, but just the concept of turning it off for 24 hours, not touching it, disengaging with it, and just seeing what happened. So I thought, this is Saturday night when I'm reading this. Sunday, I've not got too much to do. I don't really need my phone. I dropped my family a message to let them know that I wasn't going to be available, and if they needed me to contact my wife. And yeah, I turned my phone off at probably about 10 o'clock on Saturday night, popped it in a drawer in my office, and didn't pick it up again until this morning, which was Monday morning. And really, I suppose the first thing that I noticed was that when I got up and did my usual routine, which I sort of make myself a coffee first thing in the morning, maybe do a little bit of exercise and do some reading, have a bit of quiet time, that all pretty much went as usual, because I don't normally pick up my phone or check my phone at that point. But what did strike me was I use my phone as an alarm. Now, I have an alarm clock in my bedroom that I set every night, and I also set my phone in my office, which is in the room next door, so that when my alarm goes off in the morning, I'm not just tempted to snooze it. I get up out of bed and go and turn it off on my phone, and that gets me up. And once I'm up, I am much more likely to stay up than if I was just to turn off my alarm whilst I was in bed. So obviously the alarm didn't go off on my phone, and I hit snooze. And about half an hour later, I thought to myself, right, I really need to get up, but perhaps my body was trying to tell me something. Perhaps I did need a little bit more rest. And so my day went on, and I didn't, again, really miss it for the morning. We spent in church with some friends and family, and yeah, I was just kind of talking. I felt much more present, I suppose. I felt much more engaged and less distracted by what could be going on. I posted a YouTube video over on my other channel last night, or not last night, on the Saturday night, and the compulsion to wanting to check how that was performing, that was something that kept recurring in my mind. But other than that, I wasn't missing my phone a huge amount. Now, we got back and had lunch, and then I suppose what I would have usually done on a Sunday afternoon perhaps is to just have some periods of time where I just sit and doom scroll on my phone. And I didn't do that, and I felt quite tired, so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go for a nap. 2 hours later, I woke up and realised that actually, yeah, perhaps disengaging from my phone, from that constant stimulation, had just given my body the opportunity to check in with itself a bit more, to think, actually, maybe I do need to rest rather than to go and do something, to either be consuming content or even just kind of trying to get ideas together for videos, doing any form of work. All of it just wasn't an option because I didn't have my phone on, and so I did what my body clearly needed, which was a 2-hour nap. And after this, I woke up and thought to myself that, you know, it was getting on in the afternoon, and the nights are pulling in here in the UK at the moment, and I really wanted to go for a nice long walk. And again, something that I do usually with my phone, but this time obviously didn't have my phone with me. So I went out into the countryside and went for about a 2-hour walk. And again, I just noticed that I was more present. I didn't have the compulsion to check my phone in my pocket, or even when I saw something cool, I didn't immediately reach for my phone and try and take out my camera to capture it and then quickly move on with my walk. Because I didn't have that option, I actually just stood and admired, or stood and looked for a moment and took my time to take things in, rather than just rushing past them going, oh, that's cool, taking a photo and moving on. And so yeah, that presence again kind of really came to the fore when I was reflecting on what I'd learned. And then when the evening rolled around, and me and my wife were watching a bit of Netflix, and usually we get to the point where we finish an episode and it's then, we should probably go to bed. Acorn just fell out of the tree. I hope that didn't smack the camera too hard. But yeah, we would normally finish an episode and think, we should probably go to bed now, and then spend the inevitable half hour to 45 minutes on our phones doom scrolling again. And that didn't happen, because I didn't have something just there to distract me. Once we'd finished watching the episode and decided to go to bed, we went up to bed, and again I got more rest that way. I was more present to knowing that my body is tired, I need to go up to bed now, rather than my body is tired, so I'm just going to sit here and scroll. So I suppose, yeah, that's the crux of what I learned really from having a day without my phone, was that my body clearly needed the rest that I'd been talking about, and needed probably more of it than I thought. And also, not having a constant distraction in my pocket made me a lot more present. Perhaps that's a very obvious answer, and something you could have predicted, and it's probably something I would have predicted as well, but it wasn't until I actually did it that I realised the difference it made. And so I suppose what I'm trying to say is that if you're feeling a sense of distraction or a sense of restlessness, perhaps try for a day to turn your phone off and just see what happens. Reflect on the changes that you notice in yourself. Now, it wasn't all positive, because I did decide to do some cooking and tried to remember a recipe from memory. Didn't go fantastically, and yeah, the meal wasn't great. Let's put it that way. So, but I think that's more a fault of mine than it is a fault of not having the phone for that 24 hours. If I'd printed off the recipe beforehand or written it down somewhere that wasn't on my phone, then I wouldn't have run into that issue. So yeah, all in all, the 24 hours without a phone is definitely something I'd recommend you give a shot, and hopefully it will help you too. it's definitely something that I'm going to be implementing more in my life, and I think I am going to try and do it each Sunday and just see how it goes, see how I get on with it, and yeah, take it from there. So if you found this video interesting or helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button or the like button, or just dropped a comment down below and let me know if you've ever tried to go 24 hours without your phone, or if it's something that you think, actually, yeah, that's probably a good idea, I want to give that a try. Anyway, that's it for today. Take care. God bless.